Incredible hero dog exposes hidden danger, touching rescue of tiny kitten, trapped in storm drain. The storm raged like a beast awakening from slumber, lightning crackling through the thick black skies over Maplewood. Inside a small, dimly lit garage, Tom adjusted the bolts on a rusted old muscle car, beads of sweat mingling with rain on his forehead. As a single father and mechanic, the weight of financial burdens pressed heavily against him. He wanted so much for his son, to provide for Jake and chase away the echoes of sleepless nights spent worrying over bills. It was hard enough to keep his head above water. To see his son's hopeful eyes dim with the shadows of despair just pushed him deeper into agitation. Jake, the golden retriever with a coat as bright as the sun, lay at Tom's feet, sensing his father's turmoil. Loyal and resilient, he offered nothing less than warmth, a fuzzy beacon of hope amidst Tom's own worries. But on this stormy night, beneath the persistent drumming of raindrops against the roof, Jake sensed something far off. Distant cries faintly echoing, piercing through the noise of the tempest. Instinct took hold. The dog's ears perked, muscles tense as he raced towards the source. Ignoring his father's curious calls, Jake sprinted to the nearby storm drain. His heart raced, a stark contrast to Tom's stagnant anxiety. Lifting his snout, Jake sniffed the air, honing in. The cries were real, they were desperate. What if it was another dog? Or worse, a human? He began to dig fervently, paws clawing through mud and debris, determination surging with every shove. Tom, now fully aware of Jake's frantic movements, couldn't dismiss the unease gnawing at his gut. "Jake, what is it?" he shouted, voice barely audible over the storm. A part of him wanted to follow but hesitated, feared what this meant. Was it just a figment of Jake's imagination? Or worse, a distraction from their own struggles? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell, and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The storm drain loomed, a mouth of darkness that tore at Tom's heart. Watching Jake, he felt conflicting emotions. Pride for his dog's bravery, frustration over the fact that he himself felt so powerless to help. He wanted to shove his hands into that murky abyss alongside Jake, but apprehension rooted him in place, holding him hostage by fears of what lay beneath. This dilemma spiraled. Should he confront the urgency of the situation, risking the small shards of stability he clung to, or submit to the weight of his financial burden? Just as the uncertainty mounted, the winds howled, gusts that echoed the turmoil within. Tom thought of his struggles, of how easily despair could consume them both like a creeping fog. The weight of inaction pressed on his chest as neighbors began to gather, their faces illuminated briefly by flashes of lightning. Jake continued to bark, digging tirelessly, and in that moment, Tom knew something deeper was at stake. Beyond the fostered hopes and looming fears, perhaps it was a quest for connection, a fight against indifference. Yet as murmurs of disbelief rose among the townspeople, the old familiar shadows danced across Tom's mind. Could he fight for a helpless kitten when he felt so helpless himself? And amidst the life and death urgency, he faced a greater truth. There were fears lurking beneath the surface of each individual struggle. A fundamental distrust in whether they could truly make a difference. The tension escalated. He felt it building, sparking between determination and despair, as Jake's presence became a rallying point. Even as shadows of doubt loomed ever larger. As Jake cast hopeful glances at Tom, the storm rumbled ominously. But it was the storm of emotions that would prove far more volatile, as the community watched, bated breaths waiting for the next spark. And uncertainty of what they'd truly uncover revealed itself. The frantic barking of Jake echoed in the air, a persistent reminder of the urgency that clawed at Tom's heart. The storm beat relentlessly against the roof, mirroring the conflict brewing inside him. As he watched his dog dig determinedly, a spark ignited within him. Perhaps this was his moment to break free from the paralyzing grip of fear that had suffocated him for so long. What if it's just a kitten? He muttered to himself. though even he could hear the doubt in his voice. The thought of risking everything, confronting the unknown, forced him to wrestle with the walls he had built around himself. Tom's legs felt like lead, anchored by years of disappointments and failures. But as he saw the light of desperation in Jake's eyes, he noticed something else, an unmistakable flicker of determination. It was the same fire he had seen in his son, the relentless pursuit of hope against all odds. The thought prompted him to step forward, the rain plastering his clothes against his skin. Without further deliberation, Tom crossed the threshold that had held him back for too long. "Jake!" he shouted, rushing towards the storm drain. The noise of his surroundings faded except for the rhythmic pounding of the downpour. His heart thudded with every step, a blend of pride for his dog and anxiety about what waited beneath. Gritting his teeth, he knelt next to Jake, who was still digging with zeal. "Let's find out what's down there," Tom whispered, his voice barely discernible amongst the storm sounds. The impulse to protect, to act, had won out over the fear that had so often defined him. With a deep breath, he leaned toward the edge of the drain. It looked darker and more foreboding up close. He prodded through the muck as best he could, careful to keep his fear from manifesting as hesitation. Instead of avoiding the darkness, he focused on the possibility. What if they saved a life tonight? What if this act ignited a change not just for the kitten, but for himself? Jake's piercing barks intensified as he unearthed more debris, freeing the cries that had become muffled. Each sound reverberated in Tom's mind, triggering an unexpected resolve. His son had always seen him as a hero, a provider. Now it was time to become that figure in both their lives. He could not let fear dictate his actions any longer. In that moment of clarity, Tom summoned all his strength, closing the space between fear and acceptance. He began to dig alongside Jake, each shove of mud affirming his commitment. It was exhausting, both physically and emotionally, but with each movement he felt a part of his old self returning, someone brave enough to face challenges head-on. As the cries grew louder, a surge of adrenaline propelled him further. It has to be close, he thought, desperation pushing him to wipe the mud from his eyes. Suddenly, a flash of fur caught his attention, and his heart raced. But just as quickly, doubt crept back in. Was this the moment he'd finally reach out and discover his grit? Or would the burden of his fears crush him, silencing the hope that sprang anew? Just at that moment, a figure began to emerge from the shadows of the storm drain. It wasn't just any kitten. It had a collar, and something glittered in the flash of lightning, a sign that the world was offering him an unexpected connection. In that instant, Tom realized he was teetering on the edge of discovery, not just of a kitten, but of himself. The time had finally come to face what lay not just in the darkness beneath the earth, but within his own heart. As he forced his trembling hands deeper into the muck, he felt the raw energy of transformation igniting within him, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. And then it struck him. What if this kitten's rescue was not merely about saving a life, but also about reclaiming his own? He was about to find out. As Tom's fingers brushed against the delicate fur of the kitten, a rush of warmth surged through him, mingling with the cold raindrops that pelted his face. He could barely see the creature's features through the muddied darkness, but he could hear its frantic cries, a chorus of desperation that resonated with his own inner turmoil. His heart raced, not merely from the fear of failure, but from something deeper, the thrill of discovery. "Almost there," he whispered to the trembling form in the darkness, his voice hoarse but determined. With each tug, he felt the walls he had built around himself fracture just a little more. The act of reaching out, of simply moving forward, transformed his fear into strength. It wasn't just the kitten trapped beneath the ground. It was Tom himself who had been buried under his own doubts for far too long. As he managed to grasp the collar, an inexplicable mix of hope and panic ignited within him. The collar gleamed, a small metal tag affixed to a threadbare strap. "You have a home," he said, more to himself than to the kitten. The idea of it, a creature that belonged somewhere, someone who loved it, sparked an aching yearning within him. He could almost see his son's face, envision the look of joy that would break through the storm clouds of their recent years. Just as he was pulling, a loud crash of thunder jolted him back to reality. For a moment Tom hesitated, the otherworldly sound slicing through the emotional veil he had begun to lift. Doubts burrowed back into his mind. What if he was making it worse? What if he couldn't pull it out in time? The thought of failure lurked like a monster in the shadows of his mind, whispering reassurances of defeat. But he felt Jake nudging his side, steady and resolute. The dog's unwavering trust anchored him, reminding him that he was not alone in this. Fueled by determination, he yanked the kitten free in one swift motion and cradled it against his chest. The tiny creature trembled, its fur matted with mud and rain, but its wide eyes met Tom's with an unmistakable spark of survival, yet with triumph came a sobering reality. The kitten squirmed weakly, and Tom's heart sank with the weight of responsibility. What now? He thought, the exhilaration of the moment giving way to doubt once more. He had rescued the kitten, yes, but what of the ramifications? Could he really be the father his son needed? Could he truly begin to mend the fabric of their lives after years of turmoil? With a fresh resolve, Tom made his way back to the house, adrenaline rushing through his veins. The storm still raged, but with each step, he felt more grounded. He was committed now, not just to the kitten but to the changes he needed to embrace within himself. As he entered the dim light of their living room, he caught his reflection in the window. The figure staring back seemed foreign yet familiar, eyes alight with something he thought he had lost. Purpose. His son's voice rang out, piercing through the uncertainty. "Dad, is that you?" Tom's heart swelled with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The moment of truth had arrived. "Yes, I've got something. Someone." He paused, breathing deeply, gathering his thoughts as he reached the door of his son's room. This was his chance to not only share the kitten, but to demonstrate the very change he wished to embrace. Life had thrown both of them into a storm, but perhaps it was time to emerge together, battered, but renewed. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door, ready to step into a new chapter of their lives, one where fear no longer dictated his actions. But just as he was about to speak, a flicker of doubt constricted his throat. What if his decision led them down a path of more struggle? What if he failed again? As Tom stared at the innocent creature nestled in his arms, he felt the weight of expectation press down yet again. This was not just about finding a home for the kitten. This was about finding one for himself. The storm may have unleashed chaos, but perhaps it had also washed away the filth that clouded his vision. "Dad, what is it?" his son asked, and in that moment Tom realized the journey ahead was just beginning. But more than that, he recognized the real question was what he would discover about himself next. As the cracks of uncertainty widened into glaring slots of opportunity, he prepared to make a revelation that might change everything. Would he rise, or would he succumb? The answer awaited him just beyond the threshold of his son's room, where a new reality beckoned. As Tom stepped inside his son's room, anticipation swirled within him like the tempest raging outside. The warmth of the space was a stark contrast to the biting cold of the rain-soaked world he'd just emerged from. There, on the floor, his son, Evan, was sprawled, absorbed in the glow of a small lamp illuminating scattered toy cars and action figures. Soft pajama-clad legs brushed against one another as he turned to meet his father's gaze, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Look what I found," Tom said, holding the kitten gently before him. He watched Evan's eyes widen in surprise, and for a fleeting moment, Tom felt a faint twinkle of confidence ignite within him. He had reached through darkness and pulled something fragile and new. "Kittens? Can we keep it?" Evan exclaimed, rushing to his father's side, his excitement palpable. Well, we need to take care of it first," Tom replied, his voice wavering. "It's been through a lot." The weight of responsibility pressed firmly on his chest. This kitten now represented more than just a rescue. It symbolized a ray of hope, a chance to mend their relationship and perhaps even heal the scars that had lingered between them. Evan leaned closer, and Tom could see the concern etched on his son's face. "Is it hurt?" As Tom knelt beside him, he sensed a reflection of his own fear in Evan's query. "It might be, but we can help." Tom was acutely aware that this moment held significance beyond the simple rescue. It was a juncture, a chance to directly confront the fear of failure that had often led him to retreat in silence rather than engage. He remembered the many times he had failed to communicate with Evan, the moments lost to uncertainty and distance. "Let's check if it's okay," Tom responded, searching through the recesses of his memory for basic care knowledge. He didn't want to disappoint his son, not this time. He felt the kitten squirm gently in his hold, its tiny body a fragile embodiment of both vulnerability and resilience. With Evan's eager assistance, they fashioned a makeshift resting place using an old blanket and an empty box. As they placed the kitten inside, he watched Evan's expression shift from excitement to a delicate blend of focus and concern. This mirrored Tom's own internal struggle, the push-pull of hope and apprehension. "It looks scared," Evan observed quietly, his innocence layered with a wisdom that tugged at Tom. He realized that if they were going to nurture this creature, they also needed to nurture one another's wounds, the shared sadness of their past. "You're right, it probably is," Tom conceded. "But just like us, it needs time. We can show it kindness, and it'll learn to trust." The words hung in the air, igniting a revelation within him. Trust was not just about rescuing the kitten. It was about re-establishing it in his own life, within his relationship with Evan. Tom felt the walls of his self-doubt tremble. "You know," he continued, "we're a team now. If we take care of this little one together, we can learn how to care for each other too." He marveled at the realization that perhaps he wasn't merely a father piecing together a broken home, but a guide coaxing both his son and himself toward healing. Evan's eyes sparkled with understanding, albeit faint. "Do you think it will be okay?" he asked, a diminutive shadow of uncertainty settling on his expression. Tom hesitated. He imagined the challenges ahead, the perhaps inevitable struggles that lay in wait. "I think it will. We just have to give it our best. Like we will for each other," he replied. In that moment of vulnerability, Tom's heart swelled with a burgeoning sense of responsibility. Yet beneath that weight also grew the budding awareness of his own strength. As they sat together, watching the kitten slowly adjust to its new environment, Tom recognized that this was not merely about healing the past. It was an invitation to envision a future filled with shared determination and warmth. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside, a fragile yet palpable trust had begun to bloom. But just as he began to see a flicker of hope for them both, a loud thud echoed from the main room, jolting Tom's thoughts. A sudden unease crept into the warmth they had built, and he felt a familiar shiver of dread. What could that be? Was something threatening to disrupt the fragile peace they had just begun to forge? The answer loomed ominously, casting shadows upon Tom's newfound resolve. Would he be able to face it, or would he falter yet again? The thud reverberated through the narrow hallway, casting a pall over the tender scene in Evan's room. Tom's heart raced, a shattering contrast to the moment of warmth that had just blossomed beside his son. He stood abruptly, leaving behind the comforting glow of the lamp, stepping back into the dimly lit corridors of uncertainty that had always haunted him. With each cautious step toward the noise, the remnants of their moment faded, swallowed by the daunting weight of anxiety. He wasn't just venturing into the living room. He was confronting a deeper fear, the irrefutable possibility that the threat could come from within the very sanctuary he hoped to rebuild. Tom's mind was a whirlwind of possibilities. What if it was the echoes of past chaos clashing with their newly sought peace, or perhaps a mere accident that would shake the fragile connection they started forging? He felt the kitten nestled safely behind him, its warmth a constant reminder of their shared commitment to nurture and heal. As he turned the corner, he found the source of the noise. His neglected toolbox lay on the floor, a jumble of contents spilling out like fragments of his disorganized life. A dropped hammer, the wrench that had severed its hold on order. They mirrored his own scattered existence. "Evan!" he called out, searching for his son's silhouette through the dimming light. "Are you okay?" The muffled sound of Evan's voice emerged cautiously. "I'm fine, Dad. But do we have to clean that up?" A flicker of humor from Evan, juxtaposed with the remnant shadows of Tom's frustration, momentarily lightened the tension. The echo of his son's childhood wonder was a refreshing reminder of the joy that could be reclaimed amid the chaos. But Tom realized it was more than just cleaning up. It was about reclaiming responsibility and embracing the unpredictability of life. "Let's fix it together," Tom offered, a newfound steadiness rising within him. He stifled the instinct to abandon the situation or lash out in frustration. It was an opportunity for growth, not just for Evan, but for himself as well. "It's just like taking care of the kitten, one step at a time." Once they reconvened, Tom started to gather the scattered tools. With Evan's help, they transformed the mess into a lesson, a testament to their shared resolve to not overlook the base essentials of their lives. Each piece they collected became a small victory, a reminder that chaos, once organized, could yield something functional and practical. "What do we do now?" Evan asked, genuinely curious. For a moment, Tom's heart swelled with pride. This was collaboration, not mere obligation. It was a choice to engage, to involve himself as a supportive presence in Evan's journey of understanding. "Now we make a plan," Tom replied, thinking not only of how to organize the toolbox but also how to navigate their evolving relationship. "Just like our little kitten, we can't rush things. Let's figure out what to do to help him feel at home." As they worked side by side, the rhythm of their hands mingling with shared laughter transformed the silence into a dialogue. Each remark from Evan's innocent musings pushed Tom to question his own adulthood. Was he merely existing, or was he actively building a newfound legacy through these shared moments? The kitten curling itself into a ball became the catalyst they needed to embrace vulnerability. "You know, this little guy is counting on us," Tom noted, and in that moment, the symbiotic connection between fathers and sons unfurled with unexpected clarity. The room felt filled with warmth, but just as they pulled the last tool from the floor, a loud crash resonated again, this time echoing from outside. Tom's heart dropped. Fear clawed at his resolve. Should he investigate or protect his son? The weight of the decision pressed heavily, each option digging deeper into his history of evasion. The shadows of uncertainty pressed down like the storm clouded outside. He took a deep breath, ready to open the door to the world beyond, aware that confronting this next challenge could define who he was, both as a father and as a man. What unknown challenges awaited him there? Would he explore the truth lying in wait, or would he shrink back once again, trapped by fear? Tom's heart pounded as he neared the entrance, weighing the decision that could mark a turning point in his journey as a father. The muffled chaos outside continued, unabated, like a call to action. He flicked the light switch and gasped at the sudden brightness. The pale light illuminated his fragile resolve, forcing him to confront the dark shroud of uncertainty that had wrapped around him for too long. "Evan, stay here," Tom said, partially for his son's safety and partially to hold on to his own trembling nerves. A flicker of embarrassment surfaced as he felt the curl of fear tighten his chest. What was he so afraid of? He was no longer that man who would freeze at the first sign of discomfort. The last moments with Evan had shown him the importance of embracing vulnerability, and it was time to put that lesson to the test. He slipped on his shoes quickly, adrenaline surging through him. Outside, the world felt alive with unseen threats. Tom reached for the door handle, resolute, and pushed the door open, his mind racing through each conceivable scenario. The storm they had feared loomed closer, thick clouds rumbling over the horizon. Suddenly, his eyes focused on a well-worn path leading to the backyard. There had been a distinct noise from that direction. Resolute in his intent, Tom stepped outside, the grass wet under his feet. The air was thick with moisture and something unnameable, as though the very environment itself was warning him. As he moved along the path, the sound of desperate yowling grew louder, layered with the occasional rustling of leaves. His heart palpitated in synchrony with the kitten's cries, and he felt a surge of determination wash over him. Here was a moment. His moment to embrace his own fears, not just for himself but for Evan and the little creature cowering somewhere in distress. Reaching the edge of the yard, Tom's eyes searched through the thickets. Then he spotted the small shape nestled against the side of the storm drain, its movements frantic and panicked. "Oh no, little guy, hang on!" he shouted instinctively, the urgency of the moment propelling his words. Without a second thought, he knelt down beside the drain, keeping his movement slow to avoid spooking the terrified kitten. As he leaned in closer, he felt his breath quicken. Could he really do this? A frantic inner dialogue erupted within him. Tom was not just a father. He was a protector. This was his chance to dive headfirst into fear instead of retreating. "Come here, sweetheart," he murmured, reaching out his hand slowly, palm up, inviting the cat without making it feel cornered. It hesitated, its bright green eyes locking onto his. In this fleeting moment, Tom recognized himself reflected in the creature's fear. Fragile, yet yearning for safety. The kitten pawed tentatively at the gap, and Tom's heartbeat synced with its every cautious movement. Could he really pull this off? The storm in the skies above seemed to dim in contrast to the small world before him, the intersection of duty and redemption pulsing vividly. As he carefully reached into the confined space, a sudden crash of thunder erupted, causing the kitten to dart. Tom's instincts kicked into high gear. He had to act. The moment stretched, each tick of time a battle against his fading confidence. Yet as he grasped into the darkness, he made a choice, not just for the kitten but to illustrate to Evan that courage often lurked beneath layers of doubt. His fingers grazed the tiny creature and a surge of relief coursed through him as he felt warm fur beneath his palm. With a quick, firm grip, he pulled the frightened ball of energy toward him. "I got you!" he exclaimed, a wave of triumph crashing over his initial anxiety. But as he stood and turned to retrace his steps, another booming crash reverberated from behind him. This time the ground trembled beneath his feet. The storm was upon them, and the uncertainty that had battered at the edges of his soul began to seep back in. Would he have the courage to face the tempest, both outside and within? As he rushed back toward the house, heart racing and kitten cradled in his arms, Tom realized that every choice he made now had the potential to redefine his legacy. He was not just facing fear, he was choosing the path of an engaged father, and with every step, the weight of responsibility felt a little lighter. What awaited him in the sanctity of their home? Would the newfound bond with his son hold firm against the storm that brewed outside and inside his heart? Tom burst through the door, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. In the dim light of the living room, Evan's wide eyes locked onto the small kitten nestled against his father's chest. For a heartbeat, all noise faded. Only the faint patter of rain against the window broke the spell. Tom knelt, comforting the trembling creature, feeling an unexpected sense of purpose blossom within him. "Evan, look!" He carefully placed the kitten on the floor, watching as it shook off the remnants of fear and began exploring its new surroundings. The moment he met Evan's gaze, a profound realization washed over him. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a pivotal moment of teaching, a chance to demonstrate agency and bravery. "Wow, Dad!" Evan's voice tore through Tom's thoughts, amusement and awe mingling in the boy's tone. "How did you catch it? It's so fast!" "How did you think I would let it stay there?" Tom replied, trying to sound confident despite the way his heart still raced. "I had to be brave, just like how we talked about." Evan's face lit up with understanding. "You faced the thunder." Tom smiled, but felt a flicker of doubt. Was he really being brave, or just acting in the heat of the moment? Had he truly embraced vulnerability, or was this just an inclination towards impulsiveness? He shook off the thought, focusing on the kitten's antics. As the rain intensified outside, drowning the world in a relentless downpour, Tom set himself to the task of caring for the kitten. Although he had not planned on being a pet owner, the task seemed to anchor him further in his newfound role. He began to gather supplies, the motion comforting, each action a statement of commitment, not just to the kitten, but to Evan. "Let's name it," Evan exclaimed, excitement returning. "How about Thunder, because you saved it during the storm?" Tom contemplated the suggestion as he rifled through storage. Thunder. It was perfect and, in a way, self-referential. It embodied their shared experience, a whirlwind of chaos that led to something beautiful. "All right, Thunder it is," he said, glancing up to catch Evan's beaming smile. As the boy raced to find a suitable blanket for Thunder's new bed, Tom paused, a firm knot of responsibility tightening in his gut. Being a father was rapidly evolving into a multidimensional challenge. He sank onto the couch, feeling the weight of choices yet to be made pressing against his chest. Rising to the occasion and nurturing this kitten was just the beginning. With Thunder exploring the room, Tom thought about what it meant to embrace courage. It was not just about the act of rescue, but about the ripple effect. A father showing his son that vulnerability and bravery go hand in hand. Would he be able to maintain that momentum? Could he extend that lesson into every aspect of their lives? A shudder of uncertainty ran through him. Beyond this moment lay bigger storms yet to come. He had faced one challenge, but many aspects of fatherhood were still uncharted waters. Would he have the strength to tackle them head-on? Or would he allow old habits of retreat to color the relationship he was desperately trying to fortify? The heaviness in his heart twisted again as he recognized the familiar sensation of doubt creeping in. It now felt like a new enemy, one he would need to confront continually. Determination surged within him, yet he reminded himself it wouldn't simply be about being a hero in isolated scenarios. Evan returned, cradling the blanket and a mix of sheer happiness. Thunder's going to love this. Tom couldn't help but reflect on how quickly life had shifted. Would this kid ignite a path of growth rather than a series of impulsive moments? He took a deep breath, embracing the growing resolve to be intentional in his decisions, both as a father and as an individual. Just then, a loud crack of thunder echoed outside, nearly drowning out the sound of Evan giggling at Thunder's antics. Paradoxically, the storm now felt less like a threat and more like a reminder. It was time to fortify the heart and home. As Tom's gaze returned to the kitten, wonder mingled with trepidation. This little creature would change things, expectedly or not. But amidst the chaos, unexpected revelations lurked just out of sight. Just as he felt tethered to purpose, a growing inkling, a sense of emerging clarity, glimmered in his mind. What other hidden challenges awaited, blurring the lines of his understanding of courage and fatherhood? As the rain continued to pour, Tom's resolve tested itself against those burgeoning doubts, hinting at unforeseen confrontations that could redefine them all. The rain continued to drum against the windows, merging with Tom's racing thoughts. He pushed aside Evan's exuberant chatter about thunder, tuning into the familiar tempest brewing within him. What did it really mean to be brave? With every waggle of Thunder's tiny tail and Evan's joy lighting up the room, Tom questioned his own emotions. Was he simply relishing the praise of his son? Or was it something deeper, a genuine desire to instill courage and resilience in Evan? The line blurred, leaving him restless. Drawing a sharp breath, he turned the focus inward. The impulse to act and the fear of failing loomed large. Each moment felt like a step into a new territory, a relentless exploration into his hidden insecurities as a father. How often had he backed away when things got tough? Had he simply filled the role of the dutiful dad without understanding the depth of his own feelings? These musings spiraled within him, fueled by moments of self-doubt. He recalled last week's failed attempt to teach Evan how to ride a bike. It hadn't ended in triumph, but in tears. Tom's instinct had been to retreat, fearing his own inadequacies reflected in his son's disappointment. Thunder nuzzled against his leg, as if sensing Tom's turmoil. Shifting his gaze to Evan, who was flopped on the floor playing with the kitten, Tom felt a flicker of encouragement. Evan's carefree laughter intermingled with Thunder's playful pounces provided an oddly comforting soundtrack to his internal struggle. It was a reminder of innocence, a bright beacon beckoning him to embrace the very essence of fatherhood. A plan formed, albeit fragile in its conception. If he could confront his fears, perhaps he could guide Evan without falling prey to his own insecurities. "How about we take Thunder to the vet tomorrow?" he suggested, excitement slipping back into his voice. Evan's eyes widened, disbelief morphing into joy. "Really? Can I hold him? Can I help choose the food?" Tom considered the questions tumbling out of Evan's mouth, overwhelming yet invigorating. This venture would do more than provide care for Thunder. It was a bridge, a way to connect, to teach responsibility without the specter of failure hanging over them. However, as invigorating as it was, the plan filled Tom with subsequent layers of anxiety. Would he manage the doctor's appointment? Would the vet provide the insights he sought about keeping the kitten healthy? Each question opened another layer of doubt. As night began to unfurl, Evan gathered Thunder in his arms for a cozy cuddle, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in his father's mind. The gentle purring of the kitten filled the room, soothing a part of Tom's soul he thought long lost. Maybe, just maybe, engaging with this small creature could help sharpen his skills as a parent. But then, doubt speared through his thoughts again. Excitement could flip into disappointment. Pretense could easily douse their enthusiasm. Was this impulse to rush into an undertaking rooted in his desire to be more than just a shadow in Evan's life? Or was it another way of escaping his deeper fears? The kitten squirmed in Evan's grasp, forcing Tom to wrestle with the choice unfolding in front of him. How could he turn this simple feline escapade into a meaningful experience that could nurture their relationship? What tools lay hidden within him to navigate the potential obstacles? The trio settled into a quiet moment, the sounds of the storm now merely a backdrop. Fingers grazed through Thunder's soft fur, a sense of warmth mingling with apprehension. The night's profound stillness unveiled an unexpected clarity. Tom realized that understanding his own vulnerabilities might be just as essential as guiding Evan through his. In that silence, a realization bloomed. Tomorrow was not just a trip to the vet. It was a chance to redefine notions of success and failure, a platform for genuine connection. Yet amidst the flickers of hope, a tension remained. Old habits die hard, and the shadows of his past threatened to loom large. There was a childlike uncertainty woven into the fabric of their dreams. The journey ahead promised no guarantees, only opportunities to confront fears, face down doubts, and emerge not just as a father, but as a man evolving in real time. And so he resolved to meet the challenge, but not without hesitation whispering in the back of his mind, a pulse of anxiety. What unforeseen revelations awaited at the vet's office? Would tomorrow bring moments of personal victory or further doubt? The storm raging outside held a mirror to the tumult within Tom, a turbulence that refused to settle quite yet. Morning light filtered through the rain-soaked windows, casting soft shadows across the living room. Tom woke with a knot of anticipation knotted in his stomach, the previous night's unrest still lingering like a ghost. He had laid awake for hours, dissecting every possibility that awaited him and Evan at the vet. Finally letting out a long breath, he swung his legs over the side of the bed and rubbed his face. Today wasn't merely about Thunder. It was an opportunity for legacies to be forged anew. Evan bounded into the room, eyes sparkling with the vibrant energy of childhood wonder. "Dad, is it time to go yet?" he exclaimed, unable to contain his excitement. Tom couldn't help but grin at the sight of his son, the embodiment of untouched optimism. But beneath this facade of joy, Tom's mind raced with the implications of the day. As they prepared for their outing, Tom meticulously checked off a mental list. He needed to make sure he had all Thunder's essentials: carrier, leash, food, and the paperwork required by the vet. Each task completed felt like a minor act of overcoming the anxiety that begged him to hesitate. The whole morning felt like treading on uncertain ground, set against the immutable desire for something more profound between him and Evan. Once they arrived at the vet clinic, the sterile scent of disinfectant and the soft murmur of distant voices settled uneasily around Tom. As Evan clutched Thunder, now nestled snugly in a small carrier, Tom felt acute pressure weighing down on him. He'd read somewhere that a father's actions are the ultimate lessons for a child. Was he equipped to demonstrate bravery, even in the face of potential embarrassment or disappointment? The vet's office buzzed with activity. Other pet owners were chatting nervously about their own responsibilities as guides. It struck Tom how much intentional care was required in every part of pet ownership opposed to the deceptively simple notion of having a pet. Each moment was a chance to inspire Evan with lessons of empathy and resilience. Yet the specter of failure still loomed large. After a brief wait, they were called in. Evan hopped off his chair, excitement propelling him forward, while Tom lagged just a step behind. The white coat of the vet came into view as if it were a judge presiding over an unaccustomed ordeal. Tom squared his shoulders, heart racing. This wasn't just about Thunder. It was about making Evan proud and rewriting their narrative. The consultation began, with the vet asking questions and examining Thunder thoughtfully. Tom watched as Evan eagerly chimed in, like a sponge, absorbing every bit of information dispensed with visual diligence. There was something stirring within Tom, a realization that perhaps he could influence his son just by being present. Just like how Thunder's purring soothed them both, his own steadiness could be a source of calm. Yet, as they discussed Thunder's diet and vaccinations, doubt wormed its way in. He realized that vulnerability wasn't just about confronting a fear, it was about knowing which pieces of himself he had to share in order to guide Evan authentically. For far too long he had masked his uncertainties with a false bravado. Suddenly, Evan pointed to a poster on the wall of a dog named Shadow, a rescue that had saved a litter of kittens from peril last spring. "Look, Dad, that dog is a hero," he exclaimed, eyes wide with admiration. Tom gripped the edge of the examination table, feeling a surge of inspiration. The notion hung precariously. Being a hero didn't require grand gestures. Perhaps it involved taking small, calculated risks, like acknowledging vulnerabilities, transforming them into stepping stones. With a new swell of determination, Tom leaned down to Evan. "You know we can be heroes too, right? It's about helping others and learning from our mistakes." The words felt empowering, likely to ignite a realization in Evan. For the first time, Tom grasped that it wasn't merely about how he guided his son in this moment, but how they emerged together from the volatile storm of emotions surrounding them. As the appointment wrapped up and they stepped outside, the world felt renewed, the sun piercing through lingering clouds. Tom had no idea what challenges lay ahead, but he was ready to confront them, step by deliberate step, alongside Evan. What unexpected revelations awaited them during the rest of the day? Would the visit inspire not just hopes for Thunder but a deeper connection between father and son? As they walked into the uncertainty, a shift began to take root. Today might just be the beginning of something transformative. But first, Tom would need to confront his insecurities full on. A notion occurred to him. Perhaps their journey had merely begun. As the sun broke through the remnants of the storm, Tom stepped into a new reality, brimming with an uncertain yet palpable hope. The balance he once struggled to maintain was starting to realign, the weight of worry giving way to the thrill of possibility. Thunder nestled comfortably in Evan's arms, embodying their shared journey, the little creature a tangible testament to their evolving bond. "Dad, can we take Thunder to the park later?" Evan asked, his enthusiastic voice cutting through the comfortable silence that accompanied them on their walk home from the vet. Each word, innocent and free, lingered in the air like a promise of joy. Tom felt a warm swell in his chest. "Absolutely, but first, let's create a safe space for Thunder at home," he suggested, recalling the vet's advice on ensuring the kitten adjusted well. It was crucial not just for the kitten's comfort, but also for laying down the groundwork of responsibility they were both beginning to share. Evan's eyes danced with excitement as they entered the house, rushing to gather supplies for Thunder's new habitat. Tom smiled, realizing the simplicity of such moments. The synergy of mutual care was both a revelation and a commitment to forging a more profound connection with his son. As they assembled the temporary enclosure, Tom focused not just on the physical space, but on the emotional terrain they were cultivating. Each ingredient symbolized growth, trust, kindness, and shared determination. "Evan, do you remember how we talked about taking care of each other?" Tom prompted, as he watched his son work with infectious energy. "Yeah, and Thunder needs us, just like you need me," Evan replied, turning to meet him with a bright smile, the innocence of his words anchoring Tom in the promise of solidarity. "Exactly," Tom replied, feeling a flicker of pride. "By being there for Thunder, we're also learning how to be there for each other." This was not just about a kitten. It was a stepping stone toward creating a home fortified with the unwavering support that had long been absent in their lives. Once Thunder was settled, they headed out for their park excursion. With each step through the vibrant greenery and scattered autumn leaves, Tom exhaled the tension that had previously coiled in his chest. Today was not just about their pet. It was a day of discovery, a day to celebrate resilience. As they reached a clearing, Evan let Thunder down temporarily and the kitten explored the world anew. Tom stood back, observing the way Evan's laughter rang clear, a reminder of the joy that breathed into them both through commitment and compassion. With every tiny pounce and hesitant step taken by Thunder, Tom recognized their own journey mirroring that of the little kitten. filled with uncertainty but propelled by trust. "Dad, look how much Thunder is exploring," Evan shouted, his delight infectious as he knelt to scoop up the kitten, cradling it protectively. "Watch how you handle him, buddy," Tom instructed kindly, mindful of the nuances of nurturing. It felt revolutionary. He wasn't just instructing, he was engaging, consciously guiding Evan toward understanding. "Do you think Thunder will be a hero like Jake?" Evan asked, now reflecting back on their shared bond. "Heroes come in all shapes and sizes," Tom replied, finding strength in his words. "Sometimes being a hero means showing love and care, just like we're doing right now." He allowed himself to envision a future, filled not with fears and doubts, but with moments of joy, clarity, and connection. As the afternoon sun dipped slowly, painting the sky with strokes of orange, Tom felt an urgency to solidify this tranquil moment. "Hey, Evan," he began, feeling the weight of shareable truths he'd long concealed. "I've realized something today. Every time we care for Thunder, it's about much more than just a kitten. It's about us and what we build together. It's my responsibility to show you that it's okay to be vulnerable, to ask for help, and to give love generously." Evan's gaze shifted, seriousness piercing through his youthful exuberance. "Right, Dad. We have to be brave, like you." Tom's heart expanded with pride as Evan's insights illuminated his own transformation. It was concretely evident, their conversations, their actions, and the very air around them now vibrated with a shared mission. The shields he had erected were crumbling, replaced by a growing sense of authenticity. As they headed back, the chill of the evening air brought a comfortable shiver mixed with lingering warmth. The challenges ahead remained, but the trajectory of their lives had irrevocably shifted into a new, promising realm. Moments by moment they were forging true paths of connection, ensuring that tomorrows would mean engagement over evasion, joy over despair. Tom was ready for the next challenge. More than a hero today, he was a devoted father willing to confront everything that came with that commitment. A certainty replaced uncertainty in his heart. The combination of their stories would shape their shared understanding of bravery and love. As they entered the warmth of their home, with Thunder snuggled safely in Evan's arms, it became clear that the winds of change were no longer a solitary venture. Together, they were paving a path toward confident independence and mutual respect. A new and sturdy foundation had begun to take root beneath the trials, guiding them to ever greater heights. Watch the horizon, for storms may come and go, but the journey of love and growth would carry them through, elevating their story into a splendid legacy brimming with heroism. Now rally your thoughts and actions. You need to subscribe now for more inspiring content that celebrates personal overcoming through love and connection. Leave a like now and help others find this transformative narrative. Don't just spectate. Comment your favorite moments, thoughts, and theories below. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this heartfelt conclusion. This is your moment to show your support and become a part of this journey. Don't wait even one more second to share.